Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition. It's a Thursday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We'll have Brent Beaird here, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, in just a minute. We'll have Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel as well. We got a lot to talk about today. Don't forget, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill 3-year anniversary is coming up on the 12th. If you're interested in that, go to spurriers.com. They're teaming up again with the Ronald McDonald House, so a lot of the proceeds will go there. Be a lot of former players, media folks, good time, good food. So go check that out. Let's go to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and as I mentioned, it's our college football analyst and our Heisman Trophy voter, Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How you doing?
Well, there's a lot going on right now, Shane. The Big 12, they're in their meetings, and I need to get to that real quick in a minute. But and then the SEC will begin on Monday, and then go through Thursday. It is in Dallas, which is the first time it's been in Dallas. What I've been told is it will be likely in Atlanta next year and Nashville the year after that, but we'll know for sure next week. The thing I need to get to immediately is, because it's the first thing on Twitter, is Florida State, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Miami are in talks with the Big 12, is what is being reported. The Brent Beaird, the commissioner of the Big 12, understand has secured a private equity deal that can make the four schools the riches in college football while helping the payouts to the rest of the league. Now, I know that this started last night. Now, my understanding still is, and again, we'll wait and see, but Florida State and Clemson are, or at least certainly Florida State is going to be moving out first from the ACC, and that's going to be announced before August 15th. Clemson is going to be behind them at some point. Notre Dame, this deal, they may be in talks. I don't think Notre Dame is going to give up their independence still. I mean, there may be a money mark they're looking for, and this may be it. Now,
so those four teams you just mentioned were Florida State, Miami, Notre Dame, and who was the other?
Florida State, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Miami.
Okay.
Now, that's the reports. Now, my understanding still is that Florida State, once they get out, has a deal or at least an offer from the Big Ten. Now, and this is just personal opinion here, man, if I've got a chance to go to the Big 10 or the Big 12, that's not even a decision. You
No.
go to the Big 10. You've got a lot more security and all that, and without me belaboring the point much more, just because, and as you well know, Shane, just because teams could be in talks with other conferences, that doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. It doesn't mean it's going to happen at all.
Yeah, that's interesting. I had not heard about this. I do not see Notre Dame going to the Big 12 at all, no matter what. I don't know who's more arrogant, Notre Dame or the University of Texas. Which one would you put up there, Brent?
Texas, and it's not close.
Yeah.
And that, look, that's going to be one of the big things with Texas coming to the SEC is they need to check that arrogance at the door because they, especially with Greg Sankey, they're not coming in, Shane, and running the league like they think they are.
Right. Speaking of the Big 12, their meetings started, league meeting started this week.
Yes,
The
Tuesday.
the team that's picked to win their conference is the Utah Utes, and they're going to open up with the Miami Hurricanes out in Vegas next year.
That's going to be a very interesting game. Frankly, the the reason I say that is now Kyle Whittingham has now Utah has a coach in waiting, and that's their defensive coordinator. So we don't know how much longer Whittingham's going to be there. And the truth of the matter is, and look, I'm not spreading anything here. It's just the reality is, and this game is going to be in 2027, so it's a little bit away. But Shane, my question is, by the time this game gets here, will we know before then who the head coach is going to be for that game?
Yeah, and let's not joke around here. Miami may have a new head coach by then too. I forgot it's 2027. I don't know why I thought next year. At the Big 12 meetings, Brent, I have not really followed it, but obviously I've seen the reports. I think everyone knows that Oklahoma State star running back Ollie Gordon got a DUI. Mike Gundy has come out, and I think he took him or is taking him to the media days.
Yeah, he
and
went.
He is not going to be suspended at all. Your thoughts on that?
Well, what they're talking about here is internal punishment. So Shane, you played. You know what internal punishment is. So that's what Gundy said. And again, they'll go through the legalese. Now ETN situation at Georgia, the running back, he's been cleared. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but I'm sure there were some people who questioned this, and I get it, frankly. But they took him. Gundy dealt with it head on, said that's how they were going to deal with it, is internal punishment. And again, Gordon, look, I'm not accepting and appeasing for what he did. I'm just saying he's quite a talent. We'll all admit that. So we'll see where this goes. But yes, he did make the trip, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. Boy has a question here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law. Hey, number 9, did you wear a face mask shield in 1990 orange and blue game? No, I never wore a shield ever. I'm not a big shield guy. All right, so now with all the conference realignment and stuff, you can look at the Gator schedule. We have a bunch of old Pac-12 schools that have moved on that we were supposed to be scheduled to play with.
Yeah.
Georgia was scheduled to play UCLA, but that's done.
Yes, it is. And as a matter of fact, UCLA was going to play Georgia in 25 and 26, and then that they were going to play Auburn in 27, 28. UCLA has taken over playing Utah in 2025, and then they've added a series with Cal after that. So a lot of this is because of the realignment in the conferences, and very well maybe the realignment that's yet to come with that too. Now, if we can stretch this out a little bit, Florida is making some changes in their scheduling too, and so is Georgia. And if it's okay, Shane, I'll go ahead and throw that in there, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They have got Florida and Cal will no longer play their home-and-home series. Now, Florida still has NC State, Colorado, Arizona State, Notre Dame on future schedules. Now, going to Georgia. Georgia was going to play UCLA in the Rose Bowl next year in 2025. Now they will host Marshall. And Georgia's non-conference schedule next year looks like what it did last year. Marshall, Austin Peay, Charlotte, and Georgia Tech. Charlotte may be the best team of all of them. Now, let me throw this in here too. The reason we're watching this is part of this going on may be, and I don't know if they're going to announce it Monday when the commissioner speaks, but part of this, Shane, may very well be that sooner than later they're going to a 9-game conference schedule. They've got 8 now, and if you go to 9, you've got to drop some of these non-conference games. So I guess my question then, Shane, is for the average, say, Gator fan, would you rather play, a fairly attractive non-conference opponent, or would you rather play a ninth SEC game?
Yeah, it's kind of what we're doing this year. It seems like it's very similar. CertaPro Painters of Gainesville, the area's leader in painting excellence and proud partner of the Florida Gators, offering professional painting service for homes and businesses, plus cabinet refinishing and carpentry repairs. Visit CertaPro.com for a free estimate. We got Brent Beaird on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. All right, Brent, Josh Pate says he's got a list here of the top college football programs for the next 3 years, in his opinion.
Yeah, and a lot of these won't be surprising. Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, FSU, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Michigan, A&M, LSU, Tennessee, Miami, Clemson, and Penn State. So no great surprises there. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Josh. He does a good job on his podcast. But this is his estimate of who's going to be good over the next several years. Any surprises there for you, Shane?
Yeah, 2, Miami and Florida State. I just don't see it. I definitely don't see it at Miami. Florida State had the one good year, but I think people are overlooking how well of a college football player Jordan Travis was.
Absolutely.
I don't see it happening. And I could be 100% wrong, but we will see this year a little bit. Yeah. All right, Brent, the SEC Media Days crank up Monday, go Monday through Thursday out in Dallas. The Gators have announced their players that they're taking. Anything surprise you of any of these athletes that are going to represent their schools?
Well, I think some who is there and who's not there, and maybe more who's not there. You would think, and I'm curious your thought about this, you would think for a conference like the SEC that they would bring all the quarterbacks. Now, admittedly, it's pretty clear on some of them. Some of them it's still not. So we'll have to wait on that. Nico Lamaliva is not there at Tennessee. I mean, he basically just a sophomore, and I understand that to a degree. Although it would have been great if he would have been there. Now, A&M does not have their quarterback there. We think it's going to be Connor Weigman, but we're not sure because of his injuries with that either. I mean, it's a good group. There's no doubt about that. Hopefully none of them will get in trouble as they have in the past. There are some sophomores. Keldrick Fogg, the defensive end at Auburn, by the way, is the youngest Auburn player to ever go. There is one graduate student, and that is Malachi Moore of Alabama. Shane, I'm curious, should a conference like the SEC, should they bring their quarterbacks? Do you think, even if they're young? And my question is that part of the job? If you're the quarterback of the SEC school, is meeting with the media part of what you're expected to do, at least, I'll say, early in your career?
I think so. I thought and this may have just been a University of Florida rule, or I thought for some reason that, like, back in the day, only like seniors were allowed to go to SEC Media Day. That obviously has changed now. But yeah, I think definitely if you're the returning starter, I think you should go. For sure. All right, Brent, before we get you out of here, let's go around the league a little bit. Anything happening up in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, and I've got several team notes here. that we can go over. Keelan Russell, Alabama's quarterback commit, is now a 5-star. He won several awards in the Elite 11, so he was up to a 5-star. So just wanted to throw that in there. Alabama still gets some, I think, impressive compliments on how Kalen DeBoer and that staff has been recruiting, and they deserve that. Also, and by the way, while we're while we're talking about the former Western Division, did you see, Shane, where Taylor Green, the Arkansas quarterback, got a new Ram 1500 through an NIL deal with the local automobile facilitated by the Collective. So this is a Boise State transfer. I'm curious if you've seen much of him. 3,700 yards, or he's run for 100, so a dual threat quarterback.
I see your notes here. I watch a lot of college football. I watch Boise State when they play. I've never seen the kid play it down for them. I thought they had this kid named Hank Brockbeyer or something like that play quarterback for them.
Yeah, he's been there for a while. And again, I mean, I think that's a good point. Maybe it's just because they have struggled somewhat, and we've all kind of overlooked him.
Yeah. So speaking of the age of the kids or the classifications of the kids going to media day, your note here from Auburn, this kind of tells you this is how it used to be, I think.
Yes. Yeah. The media days, it started in 1985. Now, see, media days wasn't at one place before. What they did was they kind of call it a barnstorming tour, where the media went to each school, which was pretty interesting. They didn't have the throng of media they do now. It was a smaller group, but that was fun. But it started in 1985, and Kendrick Falk, their defensive end, is the first true sophomore. But Shane's right. It really used to be for upperclassmen, and they would take a lot of the guys who may not be stars, but they thought they had earned the trip to meet with the media and to give them some publicity.
Yeah, Mark's question on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Did Auburn solve their QB situation? Peyton Thorne is coming back again. I don't know if he's gotten any better or not. We'll see. All right, what's going on in Gainesville, Brent?
Miles Johnson, 4-star linebacker, has committed. They may also get a verbal from Trey McNutt, who's a 5-star safety that will be coming out on July 19th. 6 foot, 185-pound safety from Ohio, Florida, Ohio State, Oregon, USC, and A&M. We mentioned the schedule change that was going on with that too. Listen. When I saw the numbers, I thought that was pretty impressive. Nick De La Torre did this. The Gators have 34 current and former student athletes competing in more than a dozen countries in the upcoming Olympics. That says a lot, don't it, Shane?
Yeah, we got a ton going there for sure. Another note here about the Gator schedule, which I like to bring up, and you have go through that, not the whole schedule, but some of these notes that you have regarding our schedule.
Yeah, and as far as some of the teams, Miami, a new quarterback, and who has never had an SEC road start.
Brent, I say this. I've said this every day on this show. Cam Ward is talented.
Yeah,
he started on the road. He has never started on the road in any type of environment like he's going to see August 31st ever.
And Shane, I'm sure there's no way to emulate that in practice, is
it? Zero. No way.
A&M, a new roster and new coach. Mississippi State, a new roster and new coach. UCF, the comment here was Florida's just more talented, and they are. Now, KJ Jefferson is their quarterback from Arkansas. LSU, new quarterback. They've lost a lot of talent. Look, I said this last night, and have said it on television too. I think Florida's just better than LSU. Frankly, I mean, LSU's made some improvement, new coaches, and I think they'll be much better next year. But for now, and as Shane said, FSU has a new roster in a lot of ways too. They've got some returning players, but I think people need to see that from time to time, in that there are a lot of these games that people think Florida has no chance in, that we think they're going to win.
Yeah, I mean, Florida State, new quarterback. LSU, new quarterback. Mississippi State, new quarterback. A&M could be a new quarterback. Miami, new quarterback. Kentucky, new quarterback. Tennessee, new quarterback. Okay, I made my point.
Good point.
A lot of people have been chiming in on Facebook and YouTube today about ETN. Tell us what happened with his case.
It was resolved on Wednesday, which was yesterday, arrested back in March, 4 misdemeanor charges, driving under influence of alcohol. They've reached a plea deal, and he pleaded no contest to reckless driving and guilty to underage possession of alcohol. And again, thank God no one was hurt in this. So that has been taken care of at this point. So, and I'd wondered maybe if this had not happened, if Kirby would bring him to to media days, but that did not happen. Georgia's done really well in recruiting. 4-star cornerback Jamari Earls has committed. 4-star safety Jalen Morgan has committed, and also offensive tackle, get this, Shane, 6'11", 330. Jahari Jackson, I may be mispronouncing that. He hadn't played football in a while, concentrated more on basketball. Is supposed to enroll in the start of the fall semester. Shane, I almost wonder, I'm being facetious, but really I'm not. At 6'11", 330, could he be too big?
He could for sure. John says on YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plum, didn't KJ Jefferson beat us last year with dogs? He did win, but you got to remember, we missed a field goal, chip shot field goal to win the game. Should have won that game. Army Sniper says Brent's right. Florida's a better roster, but does Florida have better coaches? We'll see. We've added coaches on the defensive side of the ball, and that was the problem.
Right. Yes.
We were god awful, pathetic. Give me every adjective you can think of. That's how we played defense the last 2 years.
Right.
Maybe 3 years.
And Ron Roberts coming over from Auburn, I think it's going to be a real help for them. I still like Austin Armstrong. I think he's got a real bright future, but having a veteran in there, Shane, I think is going to help Austin Armstrong.
Yep, for sure. This LSU note that you have this just goes to show you how the scheduling in the conference is so screwed up. Yeah.
LSU and South Carolina have been in the same conference since '92. That's 32 years, and have only played 9 times. This year's meeting will be the first in Columbia since 2008. Lord, that's almost 20 years. And Shane, we talked before about, remember, Georgia has yet to go to A&M. And Georgia's going to Texas this year. Now Greg Sankey said with the new schedule and over the next few years, they're one of their main goals is to have the players, each player play in is go through the gamut and play everybody at least once. So hopefully that will happen. But Shane, that's just ridiculous in that scheduling, isn't it?
There's no question. I agree. Cliff says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, he thinks Army Sniper should apply for a coaching position. Yeah. Brent, tell us what's going on with these ACC schools.
The Clemson, I thought this was interesting. But and now obviously Clemson's involved with the lawsuit with the ACC. They're basically suing each other. Now ESPN and the ACC wanted Clemson to move this year's South Carolina game to Black Friday. And they agreed, the network and the league agreed to limit Clemson's schedule to 2 road primetime games, move a future opener from the NC State to Clemson, and ensure that a future South Carolina game in South Carolina would move to Black Friday. And Clemson said no. So just wanted to pass that on. FSU, now their media days is coming up in a couple weeks. I don't know what to make of this, and it's not a big deal, but DJ Uiagalelei had a chance to go to the ACC media days, so he turned it down so that part of the team from last year's championship team would be recognized. I mean, I get that, and I don't get that. It would have still been interesting to know, look, you know, DJ, you've gone through a spring. Tell us that, you know, you've been at 2 other schools. Now you're at FSU. Just kind of give us a lay of the land about how all this is going. You know, and that's up to him. And there's nothing wrong with that. But Shane, this is going back to the quarterback thing. I would have just thought it would have been interesting to have had him there.
Yeah, it is interesting why he's not going. I think people that watch this program know how I feel about his quarterback play. I don't think he's very good. I don't think he's ever played good. I think he's been very overhyped since he came out of high school. Going to Clemson, he was like the top quarterback in America, and he's not a great player at that position.
Yeah,
and I just don't see how they're going to be better with him. Tony says he thought the DJ thing was pretty cool. I do think it's good that he doesn't want to draw attention because of what they did last year, but it also could be that he wants to avoid, why is this your 3rd school in 3 years?
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yes.
Yeah. So text on the Titan Mar text line from Brett and Jax. He says, good morning. Shane, fans are panicking about recruiting. Settle down, people. The players that are committed elsewhere are still on the Gators' radar, waiting on the Gators to show what they got. I'm confident that they're going to do just that. Several will flip. Yeah. I just don't. I understand that fans that love to read up on recruiting every day, and so they can brag at the water cooler at work about their school recruiting. But as I said multiple times on here, do not worry about what's going to happen in 2025.
Yes.
Let's worry about the 12 games on the schedule in 2024. That's going to determine what happens in 2025.
No doubt.
And we just flipped a guy who was committed to Alabama, just committed to us, a star linebacker.
Right.
So we'll see. Any other nuggets before we get you out of here, Brent?
Well, let me just add on to that in covering recruiting for years, what some of these guys are doing, and I get this, they are just simply waiting to see how Florida does, as Shane said, on the field. And if things look better and they're improved, there will be a slew of commitments that will start to come in after that. So a lot of this is going to take care of itself. But by the way, I talked to my media source in FSU, and over the weekend he said Florida State, because of the stadium being refurbished, it's going to be 55,000. Excuse me, this year, but they'll be in good shape. At 25, that's when it'll be ready. They're going to start then with Alabama. Now listen, imagine if you're FSU and you build a new stadium, you going into the Big Ten, and during the 25 season, what if Michigan or Ohio State, Penn State or USC or Oregon end up as a home game, Shane? That'd be pretty good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Brent, good stuff as always. Appreciate your time, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
Good, and we'll certainly be in touch about media days. Again, Monday through Thursday. I know Florida, Georgia are like Tuesday, Wednesday. but we'll do all we can to be helping along with that, and look forward to talking about a wrap up toward the end of the week.
Yes, sir. That's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst, joining us on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort 10. Before we get to break, Clint says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Shane, my buddy talked to a strength coach at a coaching clinic, and strength coach is worried about the O-line. What do you think about our O-line play? Well, according to Pro Football Focus, if you listened to Zach Zalbaverdi yesterday, they have the Gator offensive line as the 10th best offensive line in America due to their grading system. So I think it will be much improved this year. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll be joined by Orlando Sentinel's Edgar Thompson. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Our gridiron sponsors, Sutter Pro Painters, Comfort Temp, UF Bookstores, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, F45. Our touchdown sponsors are Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, MG&A Wealth, Nest and Wild.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Let's go back to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and we're joined by the Orlando Sentinels, Edgar Thompson. Good morning, Edgar. How you doing, bud?
Hey, Shane. How's it going, man?
Good. I think you just kind of came back from a vacation, so to speak. Was that your downtime and now you're in full work mode for the rest of the year, or do you have another little downtime before the season kicks off?
No, this is pretty much it. Look, I had that trip, the little golf trip we talked about on here to Ireland, and just went home and played some golf with my dad and my uncle. We had a good time. We won $60 each on Saturday.
Nice.
My uncle's a bit of a ringer, though. My dad's getting in trouble bringing him every weekend now. But yeah, I was going to stay through the week into the weekend, man, but the weather's moving in. I just needed to get back, man. I leave for SEC Media Days Monday. So want to get a few days to kind of get organized and my mind right, because it pretty much starts Monday. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be one of the more interesting seasons. I've gone into some seasons in the past where I'm kind of like, yeah, this isn't going to be all that. Like, it's funny too. 2017, I was like, this season's going to be kind of just blah. Turned out to be anything but blah with Jim McElwain and the death threats and him getting fired. But you go into these seasons sometimes not all that like and pumped up to see what it's going to be. 2021, I wasn't like all that geeked up for because that was after Trask left and all that, right? And I think, right? 2021. Who was the quarterback of the
I
Gators in
can't.
20?
All the years run together to me.
Well, that was no, it was Emory Jones. And I was just kind of like, yeah. But it turned out to be anything but a blah season. But this one now I'm kind of, aren't
So
you? I'm
so
very
are you
interested to
more
see what happens.
excited just to I mean, is this from a Gator perspective, or are you excited about the new SEC with Texas and OU being involved, or are you just kind of do you think this Gator team with the so-called hard schedule, are you ready to see how they perform against that? What makes you excited about it?
Well, kind of all of the above now that you say it. I mean, this is a transformational year. I think we talked about that on here. I mean, there's no Saban for one. That's a big deal. You get the expansion across the spectrum, not just in the SEC, but Texas, Oklahoma joining is certainly a bit huge deal. And the game joining is certainly the game November 9th at Texas is going to be really fun and interesting. But yeah, the schedule, I mean, Billy, year 3, a lot of questions about him and the direction of his program. And he's got the roster he wants, more or more of the roster that he wants, and a much more talented roster, much more competitive roster, at least in practice, you got to think. Graham Mertz coming back. There's a lot of factors, sure. And then the schedule, I think it's so funny. You're always like the so-called hard schedule. Phil Steele rates it as the toughest in the nation.
Well, I agree with that when you look at what those teams did last year. But we all know that a lot of those teams, I just went through it with Brent Beaird, a lot of them have new damn quarterbacks and new coaches.
Certainly. So it's funny. One thing I want to touch upon, if you'll allow me, is I looked at both Athlon and Phil Steele, and it's talking season, basically. Remember, Coach Spur? Talking season. You can do the voice better than I, but he and it's right. None of this means anything, but it's speculative, it's fun, it's what we do, and we'll write a bunch about all this stuff. But looking at Athlon, looking at Phil Steele, Athlon has been around for 50 some years. Very reputable. They have a great staff. Phil Steele is a wonk. I mean, this guy, you can't even really read it. It's like reading
It's too much information.
It's like literally my dad looks at these financial things and sends them to me because he's a stock analyst, and he thinks I can understand what he's sending me, these charts. I'm like, yeah, Dad looks good or whatever, right? I mean, I don't know. So that's what Phil Steele's like. However, if you're a Gator fan, you're much more happy about Phil Steele and what he's saying about the Gators than Athlon, because he ranks the SEC units, okay? QB, running back, receiver, defensive back, and special teams for some reason, probably based on the kickers. He has number 5 out of 16, okay? He has defensive line 11, linebacker 9. That's not great because the front 7 needs to be a lot better, as we've discussed on this show, and coaching 10, which is probably fair given how Billy's looked for 2 years, right? You go to Athlon, and he has Florida 9 at quarterback, or they 8 at running back, 12 receiver, 10 O-line, 11 D-line, 12 linebacker, 12 DB. So Athlon is not high on Florida at all. And then if you go to national unit rankings, they're not in the top 10 in any unit, and they're playing teams in some cases. They got, a lot of teams have units. Every team they're playing pretty much has a unit in there, and Florida doesn't have any. Now, I'm not saying it's right, Athlon or Phil Steele. It's just interesting, the divergent opinions that you're getting about the Gators.
Yeah, I will disagree with some stuff with Athlon. I think our 2 corners are NFL corners. I think the safeties that we've added, maybe Athlon's not familiar with the safeties we've added, are really good players. the bottom line, again, as I've said multiple times over the years, the Gators will win a bunch of games this year if we can get off the field on third down and if our front seven can control some of the football game. That's it. I don't need to see DJ Lagway. I don't care about the offensive line play. Do we all want it to be better? Yes. But they will be good enough on offense to win 8 or 9 games. It's all going to come down to what can the defense do, because I'm going to have to look for some more adjectives that I keep calling our defense. I've been saying, Edgar, the last 2 to 3 years they've been pathetic defensively. Would you agree with that, or am I crazy?
Yeah, no, they've been horrible, historically bad.
Right.
Going back to 2020, really, man. I mean, that 2020 year, that was an all SEC schedule and a lot of defenses. If you go back and look at, so college football stats, cfbstats.com for listeners, that's a great website if you're not looking at it. And that's one for you too, Shane. And you
What's
go
it
back
called?
historically. CFB stats, CFB. collegefootballstats.com. It's phenomenal. You can go back to 2009. You can do it by conference. You can do it nationally. And Florida's defense, now in 2020, a lot of defenses really struggled because it was, but in 2022, they were last in the SEC in third down defense. I mean, it's 49.7 on third down, to your point, right? And then last year, if you go back and you look at the SEC and you look at like opponents' long passing plays, which I brought up on here a bunch, go to 30-yarders. Florida gave up 25 30-yarders. The only one worse was LSU's putrid defense, but they outscored teams. 20 40-yard plays, last in the SEC in pass defense. So, and then you go look at their sacks last year in the SEC. And, you know, I'm trying to get to it, but they were terrible there. 22 sacks. Only 2 teams had fewer. Vanderbilt with 21 and South Carolina with 21. Putrid defenses they had. And so, you know, and you can just keep digging in on these last couple of years on this site and see how far Florida ranked down the SEC and all these key defensive stats. Third down, getting to the quarterback, and then you go to takeaways, and we know how bad they were there. They were last in the country, tied with Temple in interceptions. You don't want to be tied with Temple in anything. I mean, when it comes to football. So it just was bad in every way. And then you go to the special teams where they had 7 penalties. And I know that they played, if you look overall, the kicking game was solid, the punting game was good, and their coverage teams were pretty good. But when you make all those mistakes, it just kind of overshadowed anything they did otherwise. So they got a lot of cleaning up to do. And this is kind of the prove it year for this program under Billy, I think.
Yep, I agree. Cliff says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, our defense hasn't been good since Jeff Collins left. It's probably true. Reggie's comment on Facebook Live, UF is in a unique position. First year with the full playoffs. If somehow UF squeaks into the playoff, the floodgates for recruiting and portal players will take off. If it goes south, we are still in the cellar. Laugh out loud. So anyway,
you think it's, and not to come at your guy, was that Jeff you said?
No, that was Reggie that mentioned that.
Well, Reggie, you know, and I mean, that's a definitely optimistic view. I don't know that this is a team that's going to push for a playoff, but what I've said, and this is what I believe, and I will see if it plays out. I think Billy needs to get 2 more years, whatever happens this year. And I mean, if it's a total train wreck, I guess, and every game looks like Utah, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, all the games the fans want to forget the last 2 years, every game's like that. Okay, we've seen enough, but next year they got to push for a playoff spot, in my opinion, if he gets that 4th year. And, you know, because it is a 12-team playoff and you got to enter November at least in the mix next year. But I don't know if this team's ready for that, but we'll see. If they protect Graham Mertz, I was home visiting. Now, I have a huge family. My dad married a gal back in the 70s, my stepmom. there's 73 people in this family.
Ooh.
Okay. She has 9
Ooh.
siblings or 8 siblings, tons of cousins, tons of sports fans, a lot of guys in their 40s, 30s, 40s, even entering their 50s. And I'm like kind of a guy who kind of helped raise a lot of these young guys. So they love to talk sports. And a lot of them like think Graham Mertz is like really good. And one of them was like, dude, if they can protect that guy, they think that Florida could really have a sneaky good season. So I know you
Agree.
believe that. So this is
I agree. I'm not worried about offense. I'm worried
I
about
know you're not.
the defensive side of the ball. That's all I care about.
Well, who are they
because-
throwing to besides Eugene? Maybe you get the tight ends involved. Badger needs to really be a
Yeah, I
key.
mean, we'll see once camp opens up, but I think they got enough. I mean, they don't have Pearsall, obviously. He's phenomenal. I still put him in the top 10 of receivers to ever play here.
Mhm.
So we'll see. But talking about the schedule, I mentioned the last couple of days, I don't have it anymore, but there was a publication that came out with the at-large selections for the playoffs, and there was only one team in categories for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 wins. At 8, the only team if they would be an at-large if they win 8 games are the Gators. They would get in.
Oh, because of the schedule.
Yeah. So I do think it's possible to win 8 games. People may think I'm crazy, but I think you can if we play defense.
It's not like insane to think 8. Hey, look, I'm here for it, man. I would love to cover an exciting season. I'm tired of writing the same story. I'm tired of like everything being so morose after every game and Billy feeling on the defensive. And, it's not fun.
Not fun at all.
Nobody enjoys showing up and doing that every week.
Right. Live a healthier lifestyle with our bold flavor smoothies and our amazing food, tropical smoothie. When you eat better, you feel better. Edgar, real quick before we get you out of here. I asked somebody this the other day, or maybe somebody asked me this on another show, I think it was. What would be the narrative of the Florida Gators going into this season if we were 7-5 last year? I mean, think about it. I know every school can say, well, if this would have happened, that would have happened. But let's be honest. If Edgar Thompson was playing linebacker against Missouri on the last 4th and 18 or whatever, we probably win the game, right?
35 years ago.
If we don't have some graduate assistant or whoever was responsible for hollering Mayday, Mayday, Mayday that screwed up a wonderful 2-minute drive by Graham Mertz spiking the ball, I feel like we make that kick. That's another win. I mean, like I said, there's a few plays here and there that everybody can say that, but those 2 plays just really changed the entire outlook of what this season could possibly be, in my opinion. Am I crazy to think that?
Yeah, Mark Long and I did highlights. We did a whole sports calendar review. Top 5 moments, highlights, lowlights. Top 5, and then best athletes, whatever we did. I can't even remember. It was 2 weeks ago. But number 1, I went first on lowlights, and I was like Arkansas. It was the worst. It was the worst moment of the whole calendar year for Florida sports. I mean, it cost them a bowl game, just the way it looked, the disorganization, the explanation, which we still haven't really gotten one, have we? I mean, do we even really know what happened? And that's
here's what I think happened. You're talking about the Arkansas game?
Yeah, but hang on. This is what we can't see more of. There can't be more of that. And I think Billy has taken the steps for that not to happen again. Joe Houston, by all accounts, has been terrific. And now you have the analysts that they can be involved more, because that was still creating a little bit of communication issues potentially entering next season, right? That those guys, now they can communicate more clearly. Joe Houston is going to be a huge hire, and he made the changes on defense, I think, to get everyone on the same page, because I don't think they were last year. But anyway, that Arkansas thing was a debacle. Explain.
Oh, that I lost it in the booth. I ain't gonna lie. Andy's question before we get you out of here on Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law. Edgar, how important is it to future signing classes that recruits see how much DJ Lagway plays and progresses this season?
I mean, progress. Yeah. I think you need to involve the kid. First, he's making a king's ransom by all accounts to be here at the University of Florida, right?
Yeah, highest paid.
You want to play him some. You need to keep him interested. You need to keep him maturing and involved. But if you go back and look at 2006 statistics, which I've done, and I covered that season, that was my last year here under Urban. Tim Tebow, it wasn't like he put up some crazy numbers. I think half of his passing yards were against Western Carolina that one game where they won 62-0, right? And he didn't rush for a bunch of yards, but he had some key moments against LSU, the rocker step, the jump pass, of course, which is played endlessly, and the fourth down runs against Tennessee. He had some key moments. And if DJ can have some key moments, some change of pace things, some innovative use of him, why not? Don't you agree? You got to, I would use him some.
Yes and no, because I've been on teams that tried to do that with their first round guy that was drafted third or fourth in the league, and it just screwed up chemistry during the game. I mean, if it works, it's great. If it doesn't, it's no different than running a double reverse. If it works, everybody thinks it's a great call. If it doesn't work, people think you're a dumbass coach. Okay. That would be the same thing. You put DJ Lagway in and he makes a true freshman error, which all true freshmen do, but it could cost you a game. So I don't know what the answer is. I just know this. You cannot put him or the left tackle or a wide receiver or a punt returner in if you don't trust them.
The difference to me, Shane, is you run a double reverse and kill momentum against Georgia, for example, from the 50, or that fourth down call, which, okay, you want to run a play, but maybe not that play. The difference is you play DJ Lagway and no one's really going to question it necessarily, because you are trying something with a kid who was the number one quarterback, and you are trying to get him integrated into the system as a change of pace. But I'll say this, if he's got a skill set, which we saw some flashes for sure at the spring game, then figure out a way to use it, just like Dan Mullen did with Tim Tebow in 2006.
No, I agree. But again, I just feel like the only way you can, and it's just not, this is not directed at DJ. This is directed at any player.
I understand.
As a coach, you have to really feel confident that kid knows what he's doing. Now, he still might make a mistake, but mentally, does he know what to do putting him out there, especially at the quarterback position? All right, Edgar, I want you to hear This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. In 1900, I don't know if you were covering the Olympics then, Edgar?
No, I was in Paris, though, right?
In 1900?
No, but they were in Paris.
Oh, I don't know where they were in 1900. Charlotte Cooper beats Helen Prevost to become the first female Olympic tennis champion and the first female Olympic champion in any sport.
Okay.
So that's This Day in Sports.
I thought you were going to drop some British Open on me because that's next week.
No. British Open next. We'll get you on next week to talk British Open. I'm going to tell some stories about the Renaissance Club when I went there with the Manning family when they had the grand opening there back in 2007. We're going to do that tomorrow on the program.
Nice.
Yeah. Edgar, appreciate your time. Let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter.
OS Gators. Haven't tweeted for a while, but it's going to start ramping up. Again, I'm looking forward to this season, man. I think it's going to be an interesting season. Next week, I was saying before the show, I'm curious how Billy's received at SEC Media Days. These things just keep getting earlier, man. I looked, they sent the dates out. The first SEC Media Days I did were at the end of July. And the Big 12 Media Days are going on right now. It's like they're just starting this season earlier and earlier and earlier.
Edgar, you got to roll up in there in the hotel and some boots and a big belt buckle and cowboy hat.
Don't own any of them.
All right, that's Edgar Thompson joining us on the Titan MRI Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Hope y'all had a good day, enjoyed the program, and we'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Our Gridiron sponsors, Sutter Pro Painters, Comfort Temp, UF Bookstores, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, F45. Our touchdown sponsors are Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, MG&A Wealth, Nest and Wild.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.